Hi, I'm Peter from Coffee Parts and I'm here with Frank Andrews looking at the latest coffee tech DF64-E and DF64-P. Now, Frank, you know these grinders back to front.
Certainly do.
So we're going to be looking at how they've evolved from the DF64 and what the differences is between the E and the P.
Sounds good.
First things first, let's make a coffee and then we can dive into the specs.
Let's do it.
So we've loaded the grinder with coffee, adjusted the grind setting and the time to get around 20 grams of coffee out. So now that we've got it set up, being the 64E, you can grind directly into a portafilter, and now compared to the previous 64, you can actually have a hopper because you're grinding based on time. On the P, it's more like the previous version, but locking the portafilter in, and then you can put the support there just so you don't make a mess, and we're just gonna hit and grind. And there we have it. So the coffee actually looks really evenly distributed. We're just gonna give that a quick tamp and lock it in. So we're using the new Stone espresso coffee machine, the latest machine to come out of Milan. I thought it was appropriate. New grinders, new coffee machine.
Sounds perfect.
And that is looking good.
It's looking very good.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Interesting
That's
to know
very
your
nice.
thoughts.
That's very nice, very smooth.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So that's coming out of the DF64-E.
Yeah.
This is a vibrating pump machine. Probably get a little bit different result if we're using a rotary pump.
Okay.
But I think most people that be buying these grinders probably do have a vibrating pump, possibly heat exchange, possibly twin boiler.
Yep.
So it's a good
combination.
to look at.
So as you highlighted, the E does have that advantage of grinding by time. So, you know, for those that don't want a single dose every day, you just load up your hopper, pop in your portafilter, press a button, off you go.
If you are single dosing, you could still use the E, but you're more likely buy the P.
You certainly can still use the E. It does come with its own bellow. So if you did want a single dose, you can. But generally the E is more designed for those that
Grind on demand.
just want to grind on demand. Could be even a good alternative for a cafe as a second grinder, or a decaf grinder, or a single origin grinder.
And similar to the DF64, they both come, you can either use your portafilter support or the dosing cup.
That's correct.
The bigger differences are what they've done in terms of your adjusting your grinds now on the base here rather than up top.
Yeah, so with both the DF64-P and E, the top burr stays still and the grind adjustment takes place on the bottom burr. So the bottom burr moves up and down via the grind adjustment down here. So when you want to, let's say, clean or change your burrs or whatever you want to do, it's simply unscrewing the top with the Allen key provided, out the top burr set comes, you can give it a good clean, lock it back in, screw it back down, your grind settings exactly where it was when you left it.
So talking about being easy to get into the top chamber to change your burrs, to Australia they do come with the titanium burrs.
That's correct.
But as an optional extra, you could get them.
You can get the DLC burrs, that's an option, and they're also compatible with any other 64mm.
Yeah, like in this case,
like
SSP, Red
SSPs.
Speed, and the multi-purpose. In saying that, these grinders compared to the DF64, previously you could go from espresso to filter quite easily. These two grinders are now more focused on espresso.
That's correct.
Only.
So they're purely espresso focused grinders.
So I feel like the Red Speeds will be more popular than the multi-purpose burrs, just because you're not really getting that wideness in.
Yeah, you don't need that flexibility of the multi-purpose for the filter brew. So yeah, your Red Speeds would probably be a better option if you're going the SSP path.
Yeah, and that's what's cool about these. They're almost like you can buy them and build them up over time.
Yeah, you can customize it to your own personal preferences. That's the advantage of it.
Another thing that's changed is the power switch has moved from the front on the DF64 to the side here. And that was a common complaint that when you had your dosing cup in, it was kind of hard to activate.
Yeah, it was just more from a workflow perspective, and moving it to the side has just made it that little bit easier.
They've also moved the power cable to the side, which I don't know. I really like the power cable when they come out the bottom so you can choose which way it goes.
Yeah.
Depending on where your coffee machine is, etc. I like being able to really hide cables, and that gives you a little bit less flexibility.
Yeah, and look, that's some of the feedback we've provided back to the manufacturer, and we do want to eventually move that. We have that flexibility, but that's going to take some time to get into production.
Another thing that's changed slightly compared to the DF64, apart from obviously it's being vertical now and not leaning, is with the P, you now got a riser, we call it a mini hopper.
Yeah, mini hopper.
That allows you to put more coffee in if you wanted to grind more, but it also stops it from popcorning.
Yes, that's correct. So if you take a look at the mini hopper, you can see the anti-popcorning piece that's put in there. So that was one of the other gripes with the original DF64, the popcorning of the grinder. So that's now included in the DF64-P. And it is available as an optional accessory to the DF64. So you can just purchase that separately if you do have an
for the original DF64.
Yeah. The other thing that's been included with both the P and the E is the dosing ring. So if you take a look on one side, it fits onto the dosing cup, and then on the other side, it's designed to fit onto a portafilter. So you just flip it around. So you can use it. The one dosing ring is usable for the cup or the
portafilter like we used
earlier.
So the way I see it, these DF64-E and P haven't necessarily replaced the DF64. They're very similar names, yet different grinders.
Very different grinders.
So you've still got the DF64, which will still be available.
Yep.
And that's more your single dose that can go from espresso to filter. And then you've got the DF64-E and P, which is your either single dose or grind on demand, but more espresso focused.
Espresso focused. So it's for those that only brewing espresso. Those that like the flexibility of going from filtered to espresso, DF64 is still the better option because these just can't do that filter grinding.
Yep. And
look,
then,
that being said, they can, but it needs to be modified to do it, and then you won't be able to do espresso.
Yeah.
So you have to make the commitment: you either do espresso or you just do filter.
Yeah, that's when you pull them apart from the bottom and reset them.
Yeah, so there's no point really doing that. They're really designed for espresso, and the E more so for those that want to grind demand. The P more for single dosing, but the mini hopper does allow for some grind demand. So let's say you're brewing 2 coffees in the morning, you might just top it all up with coffee, and then just go off and grind and weigh it out.
Yeah, probably be easier to.
Probably would be, but you've got that option where you can with that extra space in the hopper.
And what's cool is it does come with a fair bit of accessories, from the dosing cup to the riser to the bellows, or in this case the hopper and the bellows. So they are relatively flexible out of the box.
Yeah, and they also come with some standard accessories that you didn't previously get with the DF64.
Like the brush and the Allen key.
So you get like the little brush. The Allen key is used to remove that top burr. The E has that extra silicone bellows that we mentioned, and then you've got a couple of spare rubber boots for the fork. Yeah. So straight out of the box, they come with a couple of extra bits and pieces.
Yeah, and more protected, so they travel well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the DF64 has been same packaging. There's just a couple of extra bits and pieces that have been fit into this box, and they're very secure when they're transported.
So Frank, thank you for coming on and looking at these grinders in a little bit more detail.
Thanks for having me.
Excited to see how they go. My question is, do you have a DF64 currently? Are you looking at the DF64-E or P? Or do you just have a question for Frank or myself? Let me know in the comments below. And like always, if this video has brought you value, hit that thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. Thank you, and see you on the next video.